Welcome back to the Mic Check Podcast. This is T Word, the People's Champ. Thank y'all for tuning in. Somebody give me a mic check. Let me know if the music is too loud. I can either turn it off or turn it down. I thought it was playing on the last live stream, and apparently nobody could hear it but me. So I guess it worked out because the day before it was too loud. I feel like it was drowning me out. So if my mic is good, please drop me a comment. Let me know everything is good to go. And then we're going to get cooking here in just a moment. So hopefully everybody is having a great Monday morning or Monday afternoon if you're on the East Coast or just in a different country. A Monday in general. Hopefully you're enjoying it already. Mine is going pretty good so far. As many of you know, I'm a personal trainer. So I'm up early working people out, letting them hit them fitness goals, you dig? So that is my mission. That is my focus. So, you know, it helps me get my day started because I get to help somebody else. Hopefully that makes sense to those out there watching. That being said, man, it was a decent weekend of sports. We had the NFL. I didn't watch any NBA. I ain't gonna lie to you. Watched a limited amount of NFL football because it is the playoffs. And then I watched the full fight card on Saturday. And we kind of talked about that on yesterday. Today we're going to talk about some news that I didn't get to cover. There's been some moving and shaking going on, including some postponed fights, some replacement for postponed fights. Hey, Nate, good morning, man. How's it going? I'm doing well. How about yourself? Some postponed fights, some fight announcements. So, you know, I'm kind of looking forward to what boxing has in store for us. And we'll probably start there. I might throw NFL at the end, if at all. You know, I don't really have a big following for the NFL right now, but I am looking to expand that area of our subscriber base. But I know that a lot of people tune in for the boxing, and I'm cool with that because I enjoy talking about both sports a lot. I can sit and talk about it for hours, and I love to engage other people and get their thoughts. I'm one who's open to suggestion and open to dialogue about what everybody thinks. Just if you look at the conversation from yesterday where we're just comparing different fighters, we did talk about the complete fighter list, which I'm going to put together soon with my co-host, and hopefully we could get voting done. I might do top 3 because I was kind of looking at some of the weight classes like, man, I don't know if you can find 5 complete fighters in every other weight class. So I think that might be a little bit ambitious. So we'll probably put 5 names in the list, have people vote on the top 3, and then we'll just roll those results out over the next time. Get ready for training. Okay, what type of training are you doing? Are you a boxer or you're doing personal training for health and wellness? Tell me about it. Definitely interested, man. I train boxing myself. I set up a gym at the crib, so we got the heavy bag, we got the double M bag. Hadn't invested in the speed bag yet, but that's not really my focus. The double M bag gives you so much flexibility for timing and stuff like that. So I really like using it. It helps with your hand speed too, but more so about reaction and timing. My heavy bag has a foot base, so it's not hanging. So it kind of like shuffles across the floor, so you have to move. Amateur boxing, that's dope, man. Have you already been competing or are you just getting started? Word, February 8th. Hey, man, keep me posted on that. I don't know if you follow me on Twitter, but my handle is on the screen at the T Word Show. If you could comment the details to that event, I know sometimes they live stream those things. If you could comment the details and I could catch a live stream, I'll definitely check it out. And if it's in Texas, I'll definitely try to pull up. First fight. Hey, good luck to you. Stay vigilant. You're about, what's the day, the 22nd? So you're just over 2 weeks out. Are you feeling any nerves or anything? How's your mental state right now? Man, that's pretty cool, man. I'm glad you were able to find this channel and you've been participating in the conversation. Definitely nice to meet another amateur boxer. So you're registered with USA Boxing and all that? UK. Okay, so what do you have to do to become an amateur boxer, and how's the structure in the UK? Like in the US, you basically have to register with USA Boxing, and then you could compete in club shows. You can compete in state level tournaments and smokers, and then if you do enough fights, you could qualify for the National Golden Gloves, and they've got different weight classes for all of that stuff. And I'm older. I'm 44, so I'm in what they call the Masters division. I'm listed as a Masters boxer. So anybody that's 36 years of age or older, I can match up with them. They won't be any younger than 36 and nobody older than 54. And I know it's 8 years, so to be nobody older than 52. And then there's like a 8 or 10 pound weight limit depending on where you go and participate. So they've got a pretty strong structure to make it safe. And you all still use headgear, right? Let me pull this other tab up real quick. I'm still checking for your comments, man. Hey, I like how you're giving your coach so much credit. I can appreciate that. That's pretty cool. All right, let me see. That music is being loud. Let me fix this music real quick. It's too much. I'm probably just gonna kill it. I don't like it drowning out the conversation here. Give me just a second. Okay. If it's there, I'm sure it's minimal. There we go. All right, let me see who we got. All right, so welcome for those who just joined. This is the Mic Check podcast. We're going to just be doing a little Monday update. I'm thinking about streaming every day this week, so if people have time to join the conversation, I'm definitely interested in getting feedback on what people think. Not really feeling nervous yet. We talk about amateur boxing. Not really feeling nervous yet, but I'm very confident and excited. Hey man, believe in yourself, believe in you. Like I said, wishing you the best. Trust your skills, trust your corner, and protect yourself at all times. And I think you'll be just fine. I think you're gonna have some fun too. There's only so much sparring you can do before you feel like you want to get in there with somebody you don't know, and you want to get in that work. So yeah, if you ever post a video on some social media, anything like that, man, I definitely want to see it. I don't care how you do. Just the fact that you're getting in there deserves credit and kudos anyway, because it ain't for the weak. That's for damn sure. But I'm gonna go ahead and shift into the boxing announcement. Let's talk about the fight that was announced yesterday. I didn't find out till we are getting off the stream because I hadn't confirmed it. But Tim Tszyu is going to be hosting Tony Harrison, super bad, and I believe the fight is going to be in Australia. So Harrison is stepping in as a replacement for Jamel Charlo, basically to kind of keep Tszyu busy. This is a combination of, I don't know if you would call Harrison like a gatekeeper and Tszyu is like a fringe contender, but that's how they're going to bill it. But I think Harrison has more in the tank than that. While he hasn't looked good in his last fight, I think it's still there. And I think taking time away and working with Alicia Baumgartner, I think is going to bolster his intensity. It's going to bring back the thing about boxing that he loves is back. And I think that's going to make him want to get in there and really show and prove. And the fact that he's working with a unified champion on the verge of undisputed, I think is really going to push him to do even better and put his best foot forward. So I'm looking forward to seeing Harrison back in the ring. Now, that's not me sleeping on Tim Tszyu. I just saw some flaws when he fought Terrell Gausha, and I thought that those were some things that a more skilled boxer could exploit. And let's keep in mind, Tony Harrison got a little pop too. Now, I don't know if that's gone away now that he's gotten older and he's changing his style a little bit, but he could bang too. And if Gausha could have the success that he did, I think a pure boxer like Tony Harrison could definitely give Tim Tszyu trouble. The problem with this matchup is I don't know that I need to see Harrison versus Charlo 3, but I wouldn't be mad if it happened. The other issue is if Tim Tszyu is to lose, that kind of pushes him out of the championship picture when I feel like he deserves to still be there. So I like the fight. I just don't know if I like it right now from the business of its side. But from just a boxing fan who want to see people get in there and scrap, I love it. I love it, man. I think it's two hungry fighters who are going to give it their all. They're going to put their pride on them. They're going to put their pride on their backs and get in the ring and duke it out. And I kind of feel like this one to go the distance. The thing about that is that favors Harrison, in my opinion. Now, if it's a knockout, more than likely it's going to be Zoo catching Harrison slipping. And as long as he's not in there playing around, I don't know that that opportunity will present itself. But then again, it's boxing. One punch could change everything. If you just look at the fight over the weekend with Liam Smith and Chris Eubank Jr., it's really one good solid punch changed the whole complexion. I believe it was either the cross or the uppercut in the corner, and that was all she wrote. It all went south after that. So I'm not exactly sure how this fight will play out, but I do believe that Zoo can change it on one punch, and he get that. That's genetic. Some things you're just blessed with through good DNA, and he definitely was blessed with it. So I'm definitely looking forward to that fight. We already talked about Better Beef and Yard. Um, we did get a date on Fulton versus Inouye. That one is looking like it's going to be May 30th, and it's going to be in Japan, and you're going to be able to watch it on ESPN. So I'm going to pull up the calendar here. Let's see. Let me just skip to May. How about that? Sometimes you start doing something, you do it the hard way. Yeah, there's gonna be a Tuesday morning per usual for NOA fights. So we're gonna have to get up early and catch this one. Fortunately, on Tuesdays, I don't really have any early clients, so I'll be able to get up and do my workout with the fight on in the gym. So I think that'll work out perfect for me. So that's pretty exciting. Hey, Brenda, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate you dropping in. If you hit that like button for me, thank you so much. Thank you kindly. It is greatly appreciated, of course. It lets me know that there's people out there that are supporting the mission. Um, I sincerely appreciate everybody that taps in and leaves a like, and definitely drop the comments. Um, it does mean a lot to me. Let me see. I was pulling something up on the phone. Oh yeah, I was looking at dates. Let's see. So I'm gonna go to the Boxing Showtime apps. Hey, if anybody knows the people at Boxing Showtime, tell them I need a sponsor. And I'm always talking about their app, so maybe they should hook me up. I live in Texas. I'm actually from New Orleans, but I live in Texas. So if you're familiar with Central Texas, Austin area, that's where I'm at. And what's crazy is Texas has a good boxing scene, but if you don't live in Dallas or Houston or way down by the Gulf, like McAllen and places like that, there's really not a lot of boxing events besides just Austin. There's not a whole lot of club shows. If y'all are familiar with Floyd Schofield, Kid Austin, obviously he comes out of this area. There's a champ that I'm going to get on here soon enough. I'm just waiting for his schedule to clear up. He's a youth football coach and he's coaching MMA. His name is Rashard Hicks. He's a former Texas State champion. I think he also had a USBA welterweight belt at one point. 16 and 1. And he just had a fight a few months ago. So he's looking to get back in the ring as well. So I'm looking to get him on the show when his schedule permits. I prefer to get him like an in studio guest versus just doing virtual. But if that's the only way I can get him, that's what's going to happen. Heard about the April, May, and June fights. Wait, heard what? What? There's been some changes. I mean, I heard about. I know we're getting in the way Fulton May 30th. Um, Let me pull up this app and see if there's something I missed. Is this a bunch of PBC stuff? The furthest my schedule goes out, I've got March 11th. I've got Zoo versus Harrison. They still have Broner versus Lindy for February. Oh, hey, shoot me, shoot me an inbox. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, furthest my app goes out is March. I guess I would have to look somewhere else. I don't have a lot of sources on that. Um, as far as through these apps, but I'm looking at like that Tank Ryan situation, and I'm wondering if that doesn't go through, who might Tank fight? Let me see. Yeah, Vargas Foster. Hey, that's February 11th. I might go check that out. That's in San Antonio. Like that's 2 hours from me, and it's Showtime. That's a Saturday. That might be a nice little look. I think I want to go check that one out. Yeah, it might be fun. But yeah, I hadn't got any specific word on any dates. Let me see if there's anything floating on Twitter. That's kind of like the only other place I get the news. Broner versus Victor Ortiz. You like that? You like that matchup? I mean, I guess if you do it at like 154, 147, I guess that's a good matchup. Um, the idea for this fight is you got to put somebody in there that Broner is going to beat, right? Isn't that the mission? Like, this is the opponent to set up the next two fights. So, in my opinion, you got to put somebody in there you're sure he can beat. Let me see. When's the last time Victor Ortiz had a fight? Let's see. Box Rick, Box Rick. Put this up on the screen. Pulling up the box right now. Sometimes you think these dudes are older than they are. You know what I'm saying? Like he's what, 30, 33, 35. Like I felt like he was older than that. Let me see. His last fight was a UD. Oh, he fought last year. You know what? That might work. He's a little bit active. Yeah, he fought in May of last year. So yeah, yep. He actually got knocked down in his last fight too. So that might give Broner some courage to let his hands go. I think that's the biggest issue with AB. I just want to see him get back in the ring because he's pure entertainment. He's just one of them fighters that you just got love for. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's see. Sure, he can beat. Fights are never my thing. I'm not sure I follow what you were saying. Could you rephrase it for me? Like I think I get it, but I'm not certain. I don't want to respond to something the wrong way. Um, but Broner Broner against Ortiz, just based on the activity of Ortiz recently. Because let's see, he fought. Wow, yeah, he's been just as stagnant. He had a fight in 21, a fight in 22. So if they can make that happen, yeah. But here's the thing. So at first, it looked like I didn't understand how the California Commission was suspending Lundy, but the fight was going to be in Atlanta. So my understanding was that the place where they're sanctioning the fight, you just got to get the two. You just got to have the two fighters approved to participate in that state. And if you think back to like how the Ali situation was, where certain states will let you fight, so you can only fight here or there. So I'm thinking maybe that's the situation with Lundy because it doesn't look like he's officially been pulled off the card. What up, though, Jay? I'll start using that one on my stream. What up, though? I hate fights that are setups. Well, isn't that what prospect boxing is? It's showcase fights. That's how you build a fighter up. I mean, you put them in there with live competition, but you definitely put tailor-made opponents in front of them. To me, that's a setup. It doesn't have to be a guy that's not good. He could have an 8-0 record and you get in there 5-0, but he has a certain skill set that you're able to significantly exploit. Then that's a setup, right? So it's a showcase for you because you're the guy that has the money behind him. So I think to some degree that's kind of common, so I don't necessarily have an issue with that because it's how you build your fighters up. Now, when you start to try and set them up to be stars versus just build a career, get them some fights under their belt, I think that's where it starts to get hairy, where you start to have them avoid really good fighters and you only put them in there with dudes that they're going to beat up. I mean, in these fights, this is one level above exhibition. Like, to be honest, they're paying Broner to just get the word out. They're not paying him to go and win a belt or anything. So this is about marketing. And if you could get more eyes on their platform by having a marquee name, even if he's not an exciting fighter, then it's good to go. Look at how many people start looking for Triller fights because of Mike Tyson and Roy Jones. Like a fantasy matchup, and people bought it just to see legends fight. Now, these guys aren't legends that we're talking about, but with Broner, he's a marketable, known name. It's people that probably haven't been watching boxing in years, but if you say Adrian Broner, they're probably going to know who you're talking about. All right, let's see. Chicken Talk says Lundy told the promoter he suffered a cut to get out of the fight, so the promoter reported to the commission, which is standard. Oh, okay. See, I wasn't even sure exactly what the suspension was because I thought there was some stuff. I thought it was some stuff just tied into like the money end of it, or that's what was put out there. But this is different. So if you physically gotten an injury that's going to prevent you from fighting, then it's time to move on. Now, my question though, maybe you can answer this one for me, is how does that affect, because California suspended him, does that affect his ability to participate in Georgia? What type of jurisdiction will California have? And they says facts. I'm gonna throw this comment back on the screen because it's good information for those who might just be tapping in. All right, Carmen Serene says, why did they pick him if he already had a fight sign? Money. I mean, if the financial opportunity is there, you got to remember that if somebody's willing to basically back out of something that's less lucrative to get into something that's going to pay better, why not? And I feel like they picked an opponent they felt like AB could be successful against. ABC covers. Okay, yeah. So the ABC, that's who can order certain things within the sanctioning bodies too, right? Because they did that with the WBA when they were talking about too many belts and all that stuff. They were the ones who said you have to liquidate, or we're basically going to, I guess, I don't know, not pull licensing. Their ability to sanction fights or something like that. I think that's what was on the line for the WBA, and that's why they were getting rid of all those secondary belts, and that's why they had the tournament at welterweight. So I like your point right there. Let me see. Avanesian already had a fight signed too. Yeah. So my understanding is you just have to pay. You have to pay certain people in order to make that happen. You have to go get it approved by the board. So I'm going to quote something that I saw online. So this is, and it makes logical sense. I want to share it with y'all. Y'all give me your opinion. Um, this is from Manager Marty. He says that you have to contact the board who sanctioned the original card, and then the board for the new card. Everybody has to be in on it. So that means that you're not just pulling out saying, hey, I'm not going to make it. You actually have to go through an approval process to get off a card. That's what David Avanesian had to do. And apparently that's what Hank Lundy had to do as well. So in my opinion, I could see the legitimacy in it, but I could understand that the people on the undercards are the ones who suffer the most, because a lot of these fighters are fighting for little to nothing. And then that little bit is gone, and you've trained all that time and likely gathered expenses getting ready for a fight that's not going to happen. So to me, that's the part that sucks the most. All right, let's see. Jay. Jay says, how you feel about Berlanga splitting from Top Rank? I would love to see him against Morrell. Man, that dude better not go anywhere near Morrell. That's not even right. Him being parting ways with Top Rank, I think it's just necessary because he's not who they thought he was. Um, that early hype just faded real fast. Let's see. All right, so let's see. Let's see. Chicken Talk says if they paid that promoter for having to cancel his show, they would have let Lundy fight. Oh, okay. See, this is going far beyond any insight that I would know, because that's got to be what it is. It's kind of like what's his name, Anthony Peterson. He had a little promoter issue that it seems the guy handled. He didn't make a big deal about it, but he did let the public know about owing his former manager money, them contacting PBC, and then there being an issue like that. Um, I could see how that will cause a problem if Lundy is in a similar situation to where he's trying to like cover these different bases and pay this person and that person, but he's not doing that. He's just signing on to fight somewhere else. And now those people are left holding the bag with a card that's lacking the star power that they initially expected. All right, let me see. I want to get through these comments before they start rolling on me. So y'all forgive me. All right, so they went through the process. How come he's unable to fight? Okay, I think Chicken Talk is covering that in another comment. Let's see the setup. All right, next up. The more I think about it, Broner Ortiz will pop. I know I watch. Yeah, I mean a lot of people gonna watch because of Broner. Let's see. So Jay, you're talking about Berlanga and Morel. Um, he's gonna end up stepping back somehow. All right, so this is a response to Karma because they didn't go through the process. Lundy tried to pull a fast one, and the promoter reported his injury to the CSAC. Okay, so now this is starting to line up and it makes more sense. And I'm definitely gonna have to do a little bit more research so I can maybe do an informational video on it because that's gonna halt everything. And Broner needs a good dance partner with some type of name recognition or at least somebody that's done something in their career because it won't really sell otherwise. Let's see. Broner versus Blair the Flair. So after we get past the press conference, how good of a fight is it gonna be? All right, let's see. Karma says that's what I thought. Lundy made it seem like he was done wrong in that interview. Oh, okay. So the news that I got was it looked like somebody had taken advantage of him versus him maybe doing some slick stuff. That right there, that right there gets you put on pause because I don't. The boxing community is too small for you to do people dirty. So if he did something like that, and you're at this point of your career, I don't really see many opportunities for him. Like I feel like he blew it, and I'm sure BLK had the money to throw around and let him take care of that business, get out of that fight the right way, and then still make a nice little bag fighting Adrian Broner. Not to mention getting your name back into the bright lights because that fight's going to get eyes on it just because of the lead up anyway. So he kind of screwed himself out of probably what I think would be some good money. Now, this is a good question that Jay was bringing up, and I want to talk about that a little bit too. If you guys have some insight, so with Berlanga, what does he do from here? Do you think that it would be smart business for whoever gets with him to maybe step him back a little bit in competition and let him work in the shadows and then bring him back to the forefront when he's developed his skills more? Or is he at the point of no return where now he's got to fight contenders and champions? And I just don't see him doing very well against the true contenders and champions right now. I just don't think it's going to happen. We saw his skill set is very limited. Offensively, he just don't get it done for me. So I just don't know where he goes from here. I personally think you step back, get with a small promoter, and work in the shadows, and then just pop back out and let your skills do the talking. And this might come down to a different trainer that's going to push you, getting with the team that is going to be honest with you and let you know that the hype that was on you put so much pressure on you, you couldn't help but fail. Berlanga Mungia. Well, that's I feel like Mungia's more skill, but I think that's actually a good fight. There's a good contrast between those two that I believe still favors Mungia, but I think it will still be an entertaining fight. I just think it's a loss for Berlanga unless, just the sun just really shines on him the particular day of that fight. But I like the prospects of it. But so you would think that Berlanga would have to sign with them in order to get that fight to happen? Or actually, that wouldn't make sense because then I don't know that Oscar would sacrifice an opportunity. Lundy and Broner are washed. I mean, but I don't think that that's the point, though. I think the point is what will sell some tickets, what will get some pay-per-view sold. If you make that a $20 or $30 pay-per-view, I've seen some stuff on pay-per-view for $19.99 that these were fighters that no matter how much boxing you watch, you probably wouldn't know these dudes. So if this is going to sell at 20 or 30 bucks, I don't know if they could get that $39.99 like they did for Bud, but at 20 or $30, a lot of people will go in their pockets and spend this and maybe even buy two pay-per-views that weekend because it's only 30 bucks. So as far as the quality of the fighters, I don't know that that's the important thing. It's just the name recognition to bring eyes to their platform. And then, like somebody pointed out with BLK's presentation, there were no logos, sponsor logos everywhere. It was strictly BLK front and center. I think that that's a good move. I think that's smart. It kind of hurt them on the production end as far as the marketing and the lead up, but I think it was good for them branding themselves as a reputable company that can present it right in the ring. I thought that looked good. Maybe the commentary could use a kick up, but the fights look good. The stream came through good. So I think that that's the most important thing for them, and they need to capitalize on the heels of what wasn't that great, in my opinion, with the Crawford fight. Let me see. It was one other fight I was looking at. Okay, so the Zoo Harrison fight is a replacement fight. So when do you all think Jermell Charlo is going to come back? I don't know if any of you have broken bones or anything, but it's like 8 weeks basically in the cast or in a soft cast, whatever. And then maybe before you can actually punch, another few more weeks than that, another 4 weeks after that before you could really like let them rip. So if he got injured in December, so we're looking at January, February, March. You're looking at March before he could truly, really be working out properly, and then maybe another 2 months after that. So I'm calculating a May return. Do y'all think that that's reasonable? And who would be the opponent if he was to return in May? Brenda says Ronald looked focused. I'm pulling for him. He paid his dues. Well, yeah, I wouldn't take anything away from AB. I wouldn't take anything away from him. Three division champion. Um, AB's one of them guys that you root for, despite his mistakes. He's still somebody you root for. Let's see. Jay says you heard David A is suing due to gloves. Yeah, well, I knew that he was petitioning to get the result thrown out because they handled the gloves wrong. So I don't know if that died on the panel or what, but he got to do what he got to do. I mean, that's unfair competition. Karma says at least 6 months before he be able to return safely. Kazoo. I like that one. Um, well, yeah. So you say 6 months. So 6 months from December. So basically you're saying basically like a June or July return, something like that, just to be certain everything is in working order. And I do like him fighting the winner. I mean, I'm assuming that's what they're fighting for anyway. I don't really know how Harrison got thrown in the picture because I'm not sure where he's ranked as far as the sanctioning bodies go. Let me take a look. I'm going to go to Box Live and get the 154 rankings. It's going to be super welterweight rankings. Let me see. I want to see where Harrison falls in the different sanctioning bodies. Because if I'm not mistaken, I thought this was going to be WBO. This was going to be a WBO mandatory. Hey, have a great one, Nathan. Hey, good luck in training, man. Enjoy yourself and good luck on your fight. Yeah, definitely keep me updated. And if you post anything on social media, I definitely want to check it out. I'm always interested. I love the amateur boxing circuit. Jay says Jamel will be back July, August. Yeah, that's the same timeline that Karma gave. She said basically it'll be 6 months. So I was thinking, maybe June, July, but you're saying July, August. That's about the same. Brenda says good luck too, man. All right, let's see. Super welterweight rankings. Let's see where Harrison was. Harrison just threw his name out there on Twitter and it's stuck. Okay, so Zoo is looking at it as a stay busy. I don't have a date for Wilder Ruiz, so I mean, at this point, it's just negotiations. Let's see, 154. Ring has Tony Harrison as the fourth ranked 154 pounder. He is number 3 in the WBO behind Tim Zhu and Liam Smith. That's funny. Um, Harrison is unranked by the IBF. He is number 2 in the WBC, and it looks like he's unranked by the WBA. Yeah. Okay, so this will fall under WBO probably because yeah. Let me see. Zhu is number 1 in the WBC, and he's number 1 in the WBO. Okay, so all right, it's logical. It makes sense to me. Harrison needs to fight like Haney did out there. I think he can though. He has the skill set to just outbox you anywhere. He can outbox you on the moon. So that's one thing that everybody gives him credit for. Nobody can discredit his ability to box, and I think that that travels well because it's something that translates. It's something that a good judge is going to be able to see. They're going to see you controlling the fight. I mean, he was outboxing Mel both times, so can't disagree with that. All right, let me see. Let me look up Wilder Ruiz. I want to see what's going on with that because I thought that there were just talks, but nothing got nothing got settled. Let's see. Oh, wait a minute. So it says Saturday, October 14th. Mm. Saturday, October 14th in Brooklyn. I don't know if I trust this website. Y'all scratch that. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Okay. All right, so maybe this is what Chicken Talk was talking about. So this just came out today. It says Deontay Wilder and Andy Ruiz loses May date to the Errol Spence and Keith Thurman fight. So apparently, Brenda, they were supposed to fight in May, and this got pushed out. So maybe that October date is right. Um, it's unclear as PBC won't want 2 pay-per-views in the same month. Yeah, and this is coming from Michael Benson. So if he's a trusted source in your mind, then you could believe that information. Yeah, it's definitely a date issue. So with them not getting that May date, and being heavyweights who seem to only compete if you're not Tyson Fury just once a year now, do you think that because they're not trying to do a mega fight, do you think that maybe both of them could do something else and then fight in like December? Would that make sense? Well, but PBC bought up a whole bunch of dates this year, so I could see them maybe tentatively booking for October, but that's a long way because you're talking you were thinking you're going to fight May and now you're going June, July, August, September, another 4 months out and there's no injury. You're just getting bumped for I guess what's probably a bigger money fight. Um I don't know how many people will buy the Wilder Ruiz pay per view, but I think more people will buy the Spence Thurman pay per view because it's kind of a grudge match. Both of them have avoided each other. First Thurman, now Spence. Bro, the pay per view is bad. That's why I want to get my betting chops up so I can share it with the people that subscribe and follow me. So if I'm winning, you guys are winning, and maybe we all could pay for these fights because I feel like at a minimum, if we're able to use the sport to support our own personal ways to support the sport, I think we'll see more fights more often. Um, because I definitely want to buy the pay per views. I don't want to miss these fights, and I definitely don't want to, be the one that's streaming everything that come out. And some fights are just better than others. Some stuff is just better watch the highlights. So let me see here. What else we got? Hold just a second, guys. I'm still here checking your comments. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. Get this camera back working. All right. So yeah, I agree with you that there's just too much pay-per-view action. And not everything should go on pay-per-view. Or if you're going to do pay-per-view, they need to start stacking cards again. I thought, I don't know if they did it on purpose, but the card with Tank and Boots was actually pretty good. Let's see. It's time for some mega cards if fighters can get realistic. Yeah, I agree. Um, I think if you could set up a co-main situation, your main event, obviously you're going to pay those dudes better, but your co-main situation, I think you just got to let them know, like, hey man, you're our guy, but we'll make you a co-main this time, and then your next fight we'll make you the main. So you could get some of these guys that are kind of pay per view worthy. Like maybe you could get Charlo on a card because I feel like he's pay per view worthy. Like Charlo on a Spence card would be really fun. Now I know that it's a lot for Derek James, and there's a reason you don't do that, but maybe Big Charlo on the card with Spence, stuff like that. Those type of things need to start happening in boxing, and I think it'll make a big difference. Um, Inouye versus Fulton probably going to be pay per view too. No, it's going to be. So here it is. This is how that situation works. So Inouye has, well, Haney Loma is definitely going to be pay per view. They've already said they were looking at that. But the reason you don't get an Inouye fight is because it's not going to sell pay per view over here because of the time. So it's not in their best interest to add it. Now it's going to be on ESPN Plus. So if by pay per view you mean you have to have a subscription to ESPN Plus, then you are correct. But ultimately, I don't. I already subscribe to ESPN Plus because it lets me look at a bunch of college sports or whatever. So the $10 is okay with me. I don't want to pay anything on top of that, and I don't think we will have to for Inouye Fulton. But Loma and Haney has been kicked around as coming up on pay per view. So that's like Benavidez Plant. Do you really want to pay for that fight? Like, do you absolutely feel like this the one this the $75 fight? And I don't want Jose Benavidez on the card. Whatever it takes, Jose cannot be on that card. He's looked horrible. Let me see. So I've got a schedule that runs all the way through March, and if I'm not mistaken, Benavidez and Plant are supposed to be March 25th, right? Like I don't see it. Let me see. But yeah, that's kind of everything that I have for today, guys. Like I said, I'm gonna try and stream each day this week. I'm trying to build up, topics and try to have like a little roster of things to talk about throughout the show. But I just like to free form, just get in and chop it up with some folks that know boxing, know sports. So I am gonna go ahead and close it here. Do you all have any questions before I go? Um, Jay says Plant versus Benavidez is worth it. That's huge. So but do you feel like when you pay for a pay per view, this is a good question. So I'll stay on a little bit longer and talk about this if y'all want to. When you purchase a pay per view, do you strictly base your decision to purchase on the main event, or do you base it on at least the co-main and maybe even the fight before that, like the actual televised card? How do you base your decision on what's going to be worth it for you? Because for me, I need at least two good fights on the card because then I feel like I paid admission to see two really good fights. If there happen to be two or more, that's even better. Um, but that's kind of like my barometer. Now, if we're talking about the fighters I favor, like my favorite fighters, like Tank, you can put him on the card with anybody. I'm probably gonna buy it. You put Arrow on the card, I'm probably gonna buy it. Um, Canelo has to have a decent card for me to buy it. I ain't gonna lie to you. For me to just come out of pocket, it got to be a good card, or I'm not interested. Wilder was box office for me, but at this point, I really needed to be the right opponent, and I need to see some other good fights on it. I would have purchased the fight that from October 15th, but I was out of town at a funeral, so I had no way to order it and watch it. And nobody in my family back home was actually interested in boxing that day, so I didn't get to see that one. But I had my ESPN Plus subscription, so I was able to see the all women's card, and then I was also able to see the rematch in the undisputed for Devin Haney and Cambosis. But for the most part, it's got to be a decent card. It's got to be a couple marquee fights for me to feel that desire to pay for it, especially at $75. Like 74.99, it may not be a lot to some people, but that stuff adds up if it's a couple cards that you want to see in a month. And that's kind of how I feel about having more fights on the card. So then it feels like I went to the event and I got my money's worth. Brenda says I'm currently boycotting all, but no predetermined, no challenge fights for me ever. I mean, but how do we know that? We thought Rashidi Ellis was going to blow his opponent out and he got beat. I mean, it was a robbery, but how do we know? None of these guys are really fighting any competition to where we know, where we don't really have an idea who's going to win. Um, Salute the chat. That's AM Sports Media. What up with you, Jay? Appreciate you popping in, bro. I got to get y'all on here so we could do a live one of these days when y'all have the time. Both are important, but with Plant versus Benavidez, they're bad blood and it's worth it. Okay, so some of the theater of boxing has you intrigued to where you don't want to miss it, and I can respect that. I think that's part of it. We're seeing more of that marketing. Yeah. Excuse me. Pay-per-view making it cheaper to golf. That is an expensive sport. I ain't gonna lie. Like you go out there and try to tee up if you want to. That is no joke. Yeah, man. It is expensive. But yeah, I mean, I think those are my criteria. Jay, I don't know if you missed the question, but what's your criteria for when you decide to purchase a pay-per-view? Is it strictly a main event? Do you care about the undercard? Does that sway your decision? Or is it just strictly price based? 1 second. Get back to this tab. All right. Jay says is all the above. Yeah, I mean mine it's not really the price because I've settled in at being comfortable with the 75. If they go past that, I have to think about it, get up to 89 or something like that. You absolutely have to have some studs on your card. But the 75, I've accepted that as the norm. So I'm okay with that, but I definitely want them to have some substance on the card. You can't just give me the basics. I'm gonna need some flair. I'm gonna need some really good fights. Like when you think about the Spence card, he had um he had Cody Crowley on that card, he had Stanionis on that card, and Pitbull was on that card. So think about that. You had a contender in Crowley, you had Pitbull who's a contender, and then you had Stanionis against Butayev, who won the regular champion. You had a belt in that fight. So when you think about it, that's pretty loaded in my opinion. But then you look at another card that should have been a good card, but it wasn't. You had Jamel and Boots on the card on regular Showtime, and that wasn't a good card at all. Boots knocked his dude out in the first round and or second round, and Jamel he did what he had to do in the championship rematch, but it just wasn't that good. All right, boxing needs some big action soon. MMA seems way more rock star. Interesting point. I'm gonna come back to that. BBC does a great job of stacking. I think at times we've seen some floundered cards. What I believe is their mission right now is that Showtime has to impress. So here's what I think about that particular dynamic, and I want you guys to weigh in as well. If you have any insight or different opinions, we'll love to hear it. So Showtime is part of a bigger entity which has a sports branch. So anything sports related more than likely gets rolled into that branch. What's going to matter is, do they see it as a viable source of income, and can you put on fights at a low price? A very good point that was made to me by Q, my co-host, is that the fight in DC, all of those were local fighters. Boo Boo's from the area, Rashidi's from the area, Tank's from the area, Boots, and so on. So when you look at that, you say, okay, they loaded it up with people who were easy from a logistics standpoint to get in the building. Um, so I think you're going to see more stack cards from PBC going forward because they want to keep the Showtime deal flourishing or Paramount deal, whatever it is in the end. They want to keep that vital. So they're going to stack the cards to make it look like it's doing better. Because they've been bleeding us a little bit, just to be honest. All of them that have done pay-per-view been bleeding us with just main event fights and charges $75. Still on the pay-per-view tip, Jay from AM Sports says, I'm not paying to see Canelo versus Ryder. I don't see them stacking that card. Says no go. Not even if it was $9.99. Yeah, I'm not paying for that one. I'm gonna have to just watch the replays, and that's gonna be on the zone, right? So pretty much the whole fight, the little 10-minute highlights of the fight is gonna be on the zone an hour after the fight's over. So I'll just wait for that. I see what else is gonna be on TV that day and just tune in for that. Probably something good on ESPN. Jay says, no way paying for Canelo fighting Ryder. Now, I want to get back to Brenda's point. She says, boxing needs some big action soon. MMA seems way more rock star. Is that factual? For example, if you're not into MMA, do you believe that the average person can name 5 MMA people? Effing prospects and contenders arguing A side, B side is ridiculous. Yeah. Um, but if we're talking about Tank and Ryan, I don't see that as a similar situation. Um, Maybe you're talking about Pitbull, getting mad about being B side. He has to understand you are B side to pretty much anybody that's either been a champion or is a champion. I don't even know how he can make that argument. But to your point, I want to cook here a little bit. So boxing needs some big action soon. MMA seems way more rock star. So what I get what you're saying now that I've reread it, you're saying as a sport, MMA recycles the same old MMA fighters. They seem to have better drama marketing strategy like WWE. Yeah, I can agree with that. I think they're marketing, but it's easier to do that. It's easier to do that when you have everything in one house. The WWE is a league. The UFC is a league. Bellator is a league. So you control all of the entities within the league. You can create storylines, or you can force certain fights. You can make the best fight the best because either they have to ascend through your organization or leave your organization to grow. So even though imagine the WBA being its own boxing league, and then the WBC being its own league, and so on and so forth. Now, the guys in the WBC, if they want that belt, they can't go to the WBO and fight because they're not part of that league. So now all of a sudden, you have the top ranked guys in WBC fighting for that belt on a regular basis. That's part of why you have these issues in boxing that don't exist in any other sport. There is no structure or league to it that allows you to have that. The only thing that you can put over the top of that is the ABC, that's over the boxing commissions, and they're really just about rules enforcement. That's really it. They can't really impact the rankings. Brenda says, "Yeah, you nobody yet." Hey, them dudes sell a couple thousand tickets. They everybody. They the big fish. They the big deal. All right. Jay says, "True. You don't worry about the AB or the other side of the street crap." Yeah. Unfortunately, it's the two or three major promoters allow the wrong side of the street stuff to happen. When all the promoters are smaller, you don't have those issues, right? Because when you just had like a couple of big, you had Bob Arum and you had Don King. You pretty much, if you were a marquee fighter, you went to A or B and they found a way for to work together or build separately without it being an issue. It's like you could watch a broadcast, and if the fighter wasn't with their promotion, you wouldn't even know that fighter existed. But now that you have all of these promotional companies that are able to elevate their guys to mainstream stardom, it's harder to control the narrative of, well, why is the guy over there not fighting the guy over here, and vice versa. Brenda says, used to watch back in the Liddell era, was always great. Getting ready to check it out again if Ish don't fly right. I mean, you could do both. The thing about it, if you have ESPN Plus and you have Showtime, you can watch plenty of MMA stuff. Yeah, you can watch plenty of MMA stuff if you have those two because you got Bellator and then you have UFC. And then if most of us, I mean, you're on YouTube now, you get on YouTube, you can watch the PFL stuff. That's where Clarissa Shields is. And even though it's a small league, they seem to get some fairly reputable fighters. So I think the quality is probably better over there in terms of just fighters fighting and not a whole lot of marketing and strategizing image. It's just you're good, get in there and F and fight. Simple. Let me see. But yeah, I just think that the side of the street is a vehicle to the A side, B side. Because now if it's two promoters going to battle, then now it's like, well, my guy's a top guy. Well, no, my guy's a top guy. And now you have an issue of stalemates between people that have never put on gloves. They just, you got lawyers lawyering. That's it. And I do believe that that really does hurt the sport overall from the fan perspective. Now, this is something I want to throw out there. So we're all pro boxers. We're pro the boxers take the most risk, right? So we're in an age where we understand the money aspect, where we're more privy to the money aspect more than ever. Where do you draw the line personally from um, the boxer takes the most risk, so they want to get the most pay, but yet we still want to see the best fight the best? Where do you draw the line on that particular conversation? If Crawford and Spence don't fight, I'm out of boxing for real and gone. Well, according to most people, well, I guess we'll see in what other sports you like, because I'll just debate with you on something else then. Because I don't think they're gonna fight. I'm starting to sway that way. Because I feel like Spence can have that fight set by the time he even gets in the ring with Keith Thurman, or it's not gonna happen. And I feel like if we don't get a notice by like February or March that Spence and Crawford are fighting, they're not going to fight ever. You don't watch nothing else? AM Sports Media J says exactly. Mad frustrating. Well, Brenda, you may be gone then. That's what I said. Uh, Promoters, managers are killing boxing by not wanting to put their top fighters against other top boxers. Yeah, and the thing is, if you got two top boxers under your promotion, you can make them fight, but you pretty much have to pick who you think is going to make you the most money. Um, that's part of what people say is the reason that um, Spence and Thurman didn't fight back in the day. They didn't want to risk Thurman making all that money because he's more marketable and he could draw more cash. Spence now makes money just because he's a name that's been around so long. He went straight from the Olympics into marquee fights. She said she'll miss us though. You just pop in the stream and just troll me or troll Jay and Greg. I mean, look at TR protecting Manny from Bud. Well, so Jay, if you're investing money in a fighter, who are you going to let be the champion if that means bigger paydays? You're going to let the guy who can make you 30 million to fight, or the guy who's going to lose you 3 million to fight? Which guy are you going to keep in championship situations if possible? Let's see. Nah, Brenda, we need you to stay with us. That's what I said. Big Charlo don't fight no one. Facts. Not anymore. Right. We'll allow you to pop in anytime, Brenda. Yeah, Big Charlo really don't be fighting nobody anymore, but the top of 160 and the contender level in 168 just kind of it got murky. Good point you're making. Business versus legacy. So if we're talking about that business versus legacy, um, if you're the fighter and you're 25 fights into your career and you have a belt now, what do you think you would choose if you're the fighter? Remember, 8-week training camps. The fans want you to fight 3 times a year. So let's do the math on that. Let's say you fight in February. You're going to take a month off and then you're back in camp. So that's you fight in February. That's March, April, May, and then you're back in the ring in June. So you're making this money. You're putting your body through that war. Wouldn't you want to be compensated more? And if you can make more and not have to get in the ring that many times, would you do it? Especially if you've already become a champion. Promoter stalling one over another is criminal. Well, yeah. I don't know that this is stall. I mean, look at how they did it though. So for Manny's health, if we're talking about top rank with Bud and Manny, this is how they did it. They put somebody that they could use to rob Manny, Jeff Horn. They give him the belt, and then they let Bud beat him up. And this is something I was just looking up the other day. Horn's deal, his last fight was the Bud fight, and it was up to the result of that fight if he was going to get re-signed or not. And they were saying that he didn't even want to re-sign because he was kind of like a reluctant member of their roster. So if you're going to feed somebody to Bud, you feed somebody you don't care about. That's kind of how that played out. So I don't know that they stalled, but they were lining it up to where they were going to allow Bud the opportunity to get to that belt. Not saying they gave him the belt because he still had to go in there and win, but they lined it up to where he was going to take the belt from somebody they didn't care about and not cash out an actual cash cow. Because now if you let Manny lose the Horn, you can have the rivalry and all that stuff. Pre-Money Mayweather era equals legacy. Post Money Mayweather era equals money. Well, but so Floyd is the green print, but everybody can't do it because one thing people always forget is that Floyd was knocking mofos out first. He was in there battling. You've seen plenty of swollen faces, bloody lips, um, Floyd biting his lip, throwing them punches from the moon and back. You saw that differently. Um, and then I think he earned the right to make his own green print to get his money right. All right, let's see. Brenda says Heyman advising a fighter to fight for him is criminal and should be litigated. Well, I don't. How is that criminal? If you've helped me make more money, if you've helped me make millions of dollars, why would I leave you? Why would why would I walk away from that for a maybe when I'm already in house with a for sure thing? Like you've helped me become very wealthy. You've advised me on how to make my money grow. You've helped me build my promotional company. Why would I leave you and leave your services for something fly by night? Like why would you leave something established? Imagine, you're working for Nike and then this new upstart sneaker brand comes out and you leave Nike for that sneaker brand and you don't know what they're going to do. That's kind of what you're saying that he should have done. Taking the advice of somebody that he pays to give him financial advice and career advice, isn't that him doing his job? Errol still ultimately had to make the choice. All right, let's see. Elm Sports Media J, 160 and 168 been kind of blah. Problem is Canelo won't fight them. Boo Boo Benavidez or Maul at 160 or 168. The fight them being Mandos. That kind of duck ish clogs up. Canelo goes out the back door. So, man, Canelo is at the point where he could write his own checks. He's kind of doing what Floyd did because if you think about the last 5 years of Floyd's career, he cherry picked whoever he wanted. I feel like he'd earned that. Canelo's been in enough wars. He's over 60 plus fights. Um, I just wish he wasn't holding up belts. That's one thing with Floyd. He really was just like winning and dropping belts. So that's the difference between the two guys. All right, let me see. Jay says fights the likes of John Ryder. Excuse me, guys. All right, all right. My little pup, he got something at the door going on. All right, let's see. Floyd put in the work, just like Tank left Floyd. So, do you Do you look at those as different things? Put it like this: having Floyd as your manager slash promoter is different than having Al Heyman as your advisor. Errol actually promotes himself. He has his own promotional company. So he's working with Al to negotiate deals from him, but he still is reaping benefits of being a promoter and promoting full cards. So he's actually getting different type of benefits than Tank. Tank wasn't promoting his fights under Mayweather Promotions. He was just fighting under that banner. So I think that there's a little bit of difference. Advising someone what's best for the fighter can't always be what's in Heyman's best interest every time. It don't flush. How do you figure? So you're saying if for Errol to stick here, make this money, this is what I can assure you you're going to make. Why would you leave? Because if we're just talking about the last negotiations, like I don't want to get into that, but this is my understanding of what you're comparing. So if we're saying there was $25 million brought to the table by the other party, and Earl could either stay with his current advisor, the words best interest matter. Yeah. Um, he could either stay with his advisor and use his own promotional company, and he's going to make significantly more because they've already done the projections and they say, hey, we're going to give you 65% of the back end, which is going to represent $40 million for you. Or somebody come in and say, well, I'm going to give you 25 million. Because if they've done projections, that's how they determine guarantees. They're projecting what you can net in terms of revenue. So in my opinion, how do we know he didn't pick the best deal for him and his fighter? That's going to be the question mark that we all have to answer. 1 second, guys. All right, I'm back. I'm back. But yeah, I guess that's the question that I would pose to the people in the chat. What do you what are you using as a gauge for how you determine what's in the best interest of the fighter versus what's in the best interest overall of the promoter or whatever? How do you make that determination, or what are you comparing? I guess what's your criteria here? So you say cross promotion should be an everyday event. Then you get fights after promoters. So, but that's the thing. If you're talking about the mega fight we never got, there was only one promoter, Man Down Promotions. That's it. Or TGB might have been handling that one. But ultimately, you have one guy with no promotion, and he came in. This really came down to poor negotiations. This had nothing to do with it being promoted properly. It was going to be promoted to the moon, but this came down to negotiating what was going to work. Because if you just have like this random, you got people just come and just inject money into the situation, just say, hey, we're throwing 25 million at each. Spence is looking at it like, well, I'm bringing 3 belts to the table, so why should I split half with you? I mean, but we have more fights happen than not. We just don't have as many mega fights as we want. And we're talking about people that are used to making a certain amount of money. So we got a guy over here used to making certain money, and a guy over here who somebody has to take short money. And what you're saying is a fighter who's taking all the risk has to decide that I'm going to take short money just to fight you. So now we're telling fighters we want you to always choose legacy and fans over your financial well-being. That's what we're saying. So that's why I don't have an issue. I don't necessarily have an issue with all of it. Bud was working in his best interest. Errol was working in his best interest, and they couldn't come to a deal. Hey, if y'all don't fight, y'all are the ones who got to live with that 20 years from now when y'all are going to all them boxer events and everybody asking the fight that never happened, the fight that could have been. They have to live with that, not us. As fans, 20 years from now, I'll be in my 60s. We're going to be moving on. Brenda, 25 mil is not short, but 25 mil is not short money. But if Errol was already put in a position where he can make 40, isn't that short? Isn't 25 mil short of 40? All right. Jay says either you're an advisor for the fighters or networks. If it's both, then one will always get effed. Um, but that's the thing. PBC is a broadcasting company with an advisor that points you in the direction of a promotional company or points you in the direction of a deal. So if you hire him to just advise you, then that's all that he could do. The network has to actually come in and put up the money because honestly, the promoters don't spend their money, the networks do. I'm here for mega fights, not to support and buy pay-per-views to get dropped on the 5 yard line. I mean, you know, I'm here to watch boxing, period. I mean, I watch more boxing than the average person. Like it's on all the time. Like every day I watch at least 1 to 2 fights. And every weekend I watch at least one card if there is a card. And sometimes I watch Friday and Saturday. So I'm here for all of that. So for me, I'm not missing much when mega fights don't happen because I'm watching so much boxing. It's crazy. Kickbacks. I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure that there's something going on, but we don't know how that's working on the top rank side. We don't know what Eddie Hearn and Oscar De La Hoya are doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so much behind the scenes that we're only privy to a sliver of the pie. So as a fan, I learned to disconnect from that part of it and just be very happy and content that certain fights and certain fighters are going to go ahead and get in there and scrap it. And then other dudes are just going to move around each other and talk about it and not actually get in the ring and fight. I think the next generation coming up, they're getting less money for the most part, so they're actually going to be more willing to fight because the mega fight era has kind of passed in terms of the generation that came on the back end of Floyd. Them dudes are starting to age out of the game. So these new dudes that are coming up, the promoters can reset the bar and not pay them as much as say, hey, you're not going to get a big payday if you don't fight this guy. Tank is probably the one exception, but like Devin and Shakur, them dudes are going to have to fight mega fights to make real money or do like Devin has done, which he's jumped around promotional companies and let his dad negotiate deals for titles and stuff. So that's kind of my take on that. But guys, it's about lunchtime for me, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it there. I really enjoyed and appreciate the conversation today. Again, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the notification. We will be live tomorrow. I'm gonna do it a little bit earlier. I think I'm set for 10:30. So be on the lookout for that notification and feel free to tap in. We're gonna talk more boxing, a little bit of football too, anything else that comes up. But again, I really enjoyed the convo. Thank you all for watching and listening. Until the next time, this is T Word for the mic. Check them out. Peace.